Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into the compound effect. It's this really powerful idea from Darren Hardy's book.
Yeah, it's basically about how, those small things we do every single day, they can add up to huge results down the line.
Small, consistent actions. And it's not just talk, right? People like Donnie Deutsch, Chris Widener, John Assaraf, they've all pointed to this book. It's about fundamentals, really.
It really is. And Hardy, he didn't just pull this out of thin air. He spent years studying success, interviewing top leaders as the publisher of Success magazine. So there's real weight behind it.
Right. So our mission today is to kind of unpack how these tiny choices, positive or negative, build up, create these massive outcomes.
And just to set expectations, this isn't about finding some overnight secret or quick fix.
Definitely not. Forget that stuff. Hardy gives you a tangible plan. It's about consistency. So, okay, where do we start? How does he illustrate this?
Well, the classic example he uses is the magic penny. It really highlights the core idea.
Ah, right, the penny. So the choice is, what, $3 million cash right now?
Yep, $3 million today, or a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days.
And instinctively, you'd grab the cash, wouldn't you? I mean, $3 million versus 1 cent.
Absolutely. And for a while, it looks like he made the right call. After 5 days, the penny is 16 cents.
16 cents. Still feeling good about the millions.
Even day 10, it's only $5, like $5.12. It seems like a terrible deal, the penny one. It's not until maybe day 20, it hits about $5,000. Still miles away from 3 million.
Okay.
But then that compounding really starts to accelerate. Day 30, that penny is suddenly worth over $5.3 million.
Wow. So it finally overtakes the upfront cash.
It does. And then day 31, over $10.7 million.
That's incredible. It just explodes at the end.
Exactly. It shows how non-intuitive compound growth is. It's slow, slow, slow. Then bam.
Right. That consistency over time is just ridiculously powerful.
And he makes it really relatable with the three friends story, Larry, Scott, and Brad.
Okay, yeah. Tell us about them.
So they're all pretty similar. Same kind of jobs, income, lifestyles. Larry just keeps doing what he's always done. No changes.
The status quo guy.
Right. Then Scott makes tiny positive changes. Cuts maybe 125 calories a day, like skips a soda or something, and reads 10 pages of a good book or listens to 30 minutes of something useful.
Seems tiny, almost unnoticeable day to day.
Totally. And Brad, he makes small negative changes. Adds maybe 125 calories, an extra cookie, small treat. Again, seems insignificant.
Okay, so what happens when you track them over, say, 31 months?
Well, for the first, 5-10 months, you barely see a difference. They all look pretty much the same.
Which is why it's so easy to fall off track, right? You don't see immediate results.
Exactly. But fast forward, around month 25, things start shifting. By month 31, the difference is staggering.
Okay, how so?
Scott, Mr. Small positive changes. He's lost over 33 pounds.
Right.
He got a promotion, a raise, because he was actually applying what he learned from his reading, and his marriage is stronger.
Just from those tiny daily habits.
Yeah. And Brad, the extra cookie guy, he's gained over 33 pounds.
Oh, man. So he's like 67 pounds heavier than Scott now.
Exactly. And he's unhappy at work. His marriage is strained.
And Larry, status quo.
Pretty much where he started. Maybe a bit more bitter, seeing Scott's progress.
It's such a clear picture. Those tiny daily choices, good or bad, they stack up. They create ripples everywhere.
That's the core message. It works both ways, positively and negatively.
So it really makes you think, what small things am I doing every day that are shaping my future without me really noticing?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? And it leads right into the need for awareness.
Right, because the tricky part is putting in the effort before you see the results.
Yeah, society loves the idea of massive action, quick fixes. But Hardy says, look, most of us kind of know what we should do: eat better, exercise, learn.
We have the info.
We have the info. What's missing is the plan, the consistent action.
Okay, so how do we get that? How do we become more aware?
Tracking. Simple as that. Just tracking your choices.
Like writing things down?
Exactly. Hardy tells this story about his own finances. Making good money, but it just vanished.
Felt that.
So he started tracking every single penny, every coffee, every magazine.
Must have been tedious.
He says it was. But it instantly showed him where the leaks were. He even stopped buying stuff just because he didn't want to write it down.
That's funny. But it makes sense. It forces you to be conscious.
Right. And it's not just money. Track your food, your exercise time, how many sales calls you make. even positive interactions with your partner, anything you want to improve.
Because you can't manage what you don't measure.
That's his line.
Yeah.
Exactly. You cannot manage or improve something until you measure it.
So how do you start? Track everything at once. Seems overwhelming.
No.
Yeah.
He says start small. Pick one habit. Track it for just 1 week. See what you learn.
Okay, 1 week. Manageable.
Then maybe extend it to 3 weeks for deeper insight. He warns you might be, shocked at what the data shows, how small things really add up.
Like shining a spotlight on those automatic pilot moments. Okay, so tracking builds awareness. What about the long-term financial impact? He talks about that too, right?
Oh, yeah. Big time. Take the example of, say, a $4 coffee habit every day.
$4. Doesn't seem like much.
Per day. No.
Yeah.
But he calculates it out. If you invested that $4 a day instead, over 20 years, assuming a reasonable return, you'd have over $51,000.
$51,000 from a daily coffee.
Yep. That's the opportunity cost, the compound effect working against you because that money isn't growing for you.
Man, that puts it in perspective.
And conversely, tiny improvements could give huge advantages, like a horse race.
Okay.
The horse wins by maybe a nose, a fraction faster, but it gets 10 times the prize money.
Right. It's not 10 times faster, just slightly better on the day.
Exactly. Those tiny edges built up over time through training, nutrition, they compound.
He uses golf too, doesn't he?
Yeah, the difference between the number 1 golfer and the number 10 might only be, less than 2 strokes per tournament on average, 2.7% difference.
Tiny margin.
But the prize money difference can be 5 times bigger. Millions of dollars. Small, consistent improvements yield massive rewards.
Okay, so it's not just for elite athletes. How does this apply to, regular folks?
He tells the story of Kathleen. She started super small, just tracked her spending, made one tiny change, packed her lunch once a week.
Okay.
That saved her about 1% of her income, roughly $33 a month.
Seems almost trivial, $33.
Right. But that first step, that awareness, it created momentum. She started looking for other small savings, cut a subscription here, brewed coffee at home more often there.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of the year, she was saving 10% of her income without feeling deprived.
Wow. And did it stop there?
No. That financial discipline spilled over into her business. She made smarter decisions, grew her income significantly, and eventually became a millionaire.
All starting from deciding to save $33 a month. That's wild.
It really shows the ripple effect. And, crucially, the power of starting early.
The time factor.
Yeah. He compares someone saving $250 a month starting at 23 versus someone starting later. The early starter ends up with way, way more just because the money had more time to compound.
So the takeaway is start now. Whatever your goal, find a small step you can take consistently starting today.
Exactly. Which brings us to habits. Because ultimately, your results come from your habits.
Right. Those moment-to-moment choices become automatic. Winning is a habit, losing is a habit.
And something like 95% of what we do, think, feel, act is driven by habits, learned behavior.
Which is useful. Lets us run on autopilot for routine stuff.
For sure. But it also means bad habits can creep in and run automatically without us even noticing.
And the danger is bad habits usually don't hurt you immediately, right? One cigarette, one missed workout. Doesn't sound like a big deal.
Exactly. No immediate consequence. But the compound effect is still working, just in the wrong direction, building negative momentum over time.
Hardy has that analogy of the airplane, right?
Yeah, flying from LA to New York. If it's off course by just 1 degree.
Seems tiny.
Right. But over that distance, it ends up 150 miles away from Manhattan, lands somewhere else entirely.
That's a powerful image for how small bad habits can take you way off course from your goals.
Totally. And just relying on willpower to fix it, often not enough.
Yeah, willpower feels like it runs out.
It does. He uses the plank between buildings analogy.
Okay, how does that go?
Imagine a plank on the ground, walk across it for $20. Easy peasy.
Sure.
Now, put that same plank between 2 100-story buildings, still $20 to cross. Would you do it?
No way. Terrifying.
Right. The task is the same, the reward is the same, but the perceived risk is huge. Unless your child is on the other building and it's on fire.
Then you'd cross in a heartbeat, no question.
Exactly. Your why changed everything. That deep core motivation is stronger than willpower alone.
So finding your why is critical for making changes stick, even if it's like proving someone wrong.
He says even negative motivation can work, whatever fuels that deep drive.
Yeah.
And tied to that is having clear goals. You need to know where you want the compound effect to take you.
Directing the power. Whatever you vividly imagine
must inevitably come to pass.
Yeah.
But the absolute first step before changing anything.
Awareness again. Back to tracking.
Back to tracking. You got to know what you're actually doing now. How much TV, how much mindless scrolling, how many sodas. Be honest.
Because your habits show your real priorities.
Right.
Not just what you say you want.
Exactly. Words versus actions. So, he suggests, list your bad habits. Then list the good habits you want instead.
Get it down on paper.
Yep. And then figure out the triggers for the bad ones. What sets them off? Is it stress, boredom, a certain time of day, a specific place?
Identifying the starting point of the chain reaction.
Right. Once you know the trigger, you can disrupt it. He gives a few strategies.
Okay, like what?
1, know your triggers. 2, clean house, get rid of the temptations. If you eat junk food when stressed, don't keep it in the house.
Makes sense. Out of sight, out of mind, hopefully.
3, swap it out. Replace the bad habit with a good one. Feeling stressed. Instead of reaching for chips, maybe go for a quick walk.
Find a better coping mechanism.
4, ease in sometimes, like cutting down caffeine gradually instead of going cold turkey.
Less of a shock to the system.
But 5,
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to jump in and stop immediately. Depends on the habit.
Okay, so you tackle the bad habits, then you got to build the good ones.
Right. Installing the positive replacements. Right. And he stresses that first, 3 weeks, that takes real conscious effort and focus to lock in a new habit.
Okay, 3 weeks of focus. What helps during that time?
He gives 7 techniques. First, set yourself up for success. Make the good habit easy and convenient. Gym, on your way home from work, not across town.
Remove the friction.
Exactly. Second, think addition, not subtraction. Focus on the good things you're adding: energy, health, knowledge, not what you're giving up.
Positive framing.
Third, public accountability. Tell people your goal. Like Zelda, who quit smoking with her whole office cheering her on.
That ends pressure, but in a good way, maybe.
Can be very effective. Fourth, find a success buddy, an accountability partner. He calls it a peak performance partner. Check in regularly, support each other.
Got it. Keep each other honest.
Fifth, compete with yourself. Track your progress. Try to beat your own bests. Make it a game.
Intrinsic motivation.
Nice. Sixth, celebrate the small wins. Acknowledge your progress. Builds momentum.
Yeah, got to reward yourself a bit.
And seventh, this is key, never miss twice. Okay, you slip up one day, it happens. Get right back on track the next day. Don't let one slip become a slide.
Don't let it derail you completely. Okay, good list.
And all this builds momentum, what he calls Big Mo.
Big Mo. I like it. How does he describe that?
Like pushing one of those big heavy merry-go-rounds at the park.
Yeah, it takes a huge effort to get it started.
Right. Lots of grunting and straining. But once it's spinning, a little push keeps going easily. It builds its own momentum.
So getting started with new habits is the hard part. Pushing against inertia.
Exactly. Like a rocket launch uses most of its fuel just getting off the ground, breaking gravity. Your old habits, your comfort zone, that's the gravity you have to overcome.
But once you do, things get easier.
Much easier.
Wow.
Results start compounding faster. Success builds on success. But you need consistency to get there and keep it going.
Not just bursts of intensity.
Right. He uses the analogy of 2 planes. One flies super fast but keeps stopping. The other flies a bit slower but just keeps going steadily. Which one gets there first?
The steady one, usually?
The steady one. Consistency trumps intermittent intensity. Like the old water pump analogy, too.
A hand pump.
Yeah. You got to pump for a while, maybe feeling like nothing's happening.
Right, just pumping air.
Before the water starts to flow. A lot of people give up pumping just before the water comes.
Got to keep pumping consistently until you get the result.
Exactly. Perseverance. And routines really help with that consistency. Building rhythms.
Okay, like daily routines.
Definitely. He talks about bookending your days, having solid morning and evening routines.
What might those look like?
Morning could be, gratitude, setting intentions, planning your top priorities. Evening might be reviewing the day, journaling, reading something inspiring. Tailor it to your goals.
Creating structure.
Yes. And he also says don't get too rigid. You got to shake it up sometimes. Try new things within your routines to avoid hitting plateaus.
Keep it fresh. Makes sense. What about longer term rhythms?
Yeah, weekly, monthly, quarterly, like a weekly date night, a monthly review of your goals, a quarterly family outing, building these consistent positive touch points into your life.
Okay, so consistency, routines, momentum. What else influences our ability to stick with this?
Huge factors are the external influences. Hardy points to 3 big ones: input, associations, and environment.
Okay, let's break those down. Input, what does that mean?
Basically what you feed your mind. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Classic saying.
If you're constantly consuming negative news, mindless TV, social media drama, that's going to affect your thinking, your mood, your productivity.
Right. Our minds have that negativity bias anyway, and the media often feeds it.
Totally. So he recommends a media diet. Be conscious about what information you let in. He himself is pretty strict, avoids most news.
Wow. Instead, what?
Fill your mind with positive, useful stuff. He loves the idea of drive time you. Turn your commute into learning time. Audiobooks, podcasts.
Use that dead time productively. Good one. Okay, second was associations.
Yeah? Who you hang out with. Birds of a feather flock together.
So the people around us influence us heavily.
Massively. He says your reference group, the people you spend the most time with, could determine like 95% of your success or failure.
95%? That's huge.
It is. So you really need to look at who's in your inner circle. Do they lift you up? Do they inspire you? Are they living the kind of life you admire?
Makes you take a hard look at your friendships and connections.
For sure. He suggests categorizing them. Maybe some people you need to spend less time with, limited associations, or even break away from dissociations if they're really negative influences.
That can be tough.
It can be very tough.
Yeah.
But necessary sometimes. And then actively seek out expanded associations, people who are ahead of you, mentors, positive role models.
Yeah.
Through networking, books, events.
Surround yourself with growth.
Okay. And the third one was environment.
Your physical surroundings. Does your space support your goals? Is it organized, inspiring, or cluttered and distracting?
Like setting up your workspace for focus or making your kitchen conducive to healthy eating.
Exactly. He even tells a story about visualizing his dream house in detail for years and then kind of unexpectedly finding and buying that exact house. The environment matched the vision.
So input, associations, environment. Control what you can in those areas.
Right. They all shape your choices subconsciously. Okay, so you're doing the small steps, tracking, building habits, managing influences. How do you really kick it into high gear? Acceleration.
Taking it to the next level.
Yeah. Hardy talks about moments of truth. Those times when you hit a wall, feel like quitting, but you push through anyway.
Like in a tough workout or nearing a deadline. Exactly. He uses Lance Armstrong winning the Tour de France, pushing through incredible pain. That's where the real growth happens, apparently, when you push past what you thought your limits were.
Finding that extra gear.
And that extra effort often multiplies results, like doing a few extra reps when your muscles are screaming. That's where the muscle growth really happens.
And going slightly beyond the minimum requirement.
Yes. He shares personal stories, too, like learning enough Portuguese to properly ask his wife's father for her hand in marriage, even calling all her brothers, going way beyond expectations.
That definitely shows commitment.
It does. And doing the unexpected can have a big impact. Think Richard Branson and his crazy marketing stunts.
Yeah, gets attention.
Now, Hardy's not saying do anything crazy or negative, but find ways to pleasantly surprise people, to deliver more than expected, create wow moments.
Like the Invisible Children story he mentions. Their dedication was way beyond typical.
Exactly. That level of commitment, exceeding expectations, it builds a powerful reputation and multiplies impact.
So always look for opportunities to do a little bit more, to go the extra mile.
That seems to be the accelerator key.
Yeah.
Find those multiplier opportunities.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the big message really is transformation isn't about some giant leap.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's the sum total of thousands of small, seemingly insignificant choices made consistently over time.
Guided by awareness.
Fueled by good habits.
Supported by your inputs, people, and places.
And then amplified when you push yourself to do just a little bit extra.
It puts the power back in your hands, doesn't it? Which leads to a good question for everyone listening.
Yeah, think about it. Looking back over the last 5 years, are you really where you wanted to be? Where you thought you'd be?
That's a tough question for some.
It can be. But the empowering part is, if the answer is no, you absolutely have the power to make the next 5 years completely different. By starting to make new choices, small positive choices, consistently, starting today, right now.
Don't be a victim of circumstance. Own your choices. Embrace that compound effect. It's always working anyway.
Might as well make it work for you, right? To build that future you really want.
Absolutely. And hey, for anyone wanting to dig deeper and use some of the tools Hardy talks about.
Right. He's got worksheets online, gratitude assessment, input tracker, association evaluator, rhythm register. Stuff to help you apply these ideas.
You can find those for free at www.thecompoundeffect.com/free. We'll link that up too. Definitely worth checking out if you want to put this into action.